Executive pay takes center stage on Capitol Hill today. In just 20 minutes, House Financial Services Committee begins a hearing on compensation and systemic risk with testimony from Treasury, the Fed, the SEC. Heading up that hearing is House Financial Services Committee Chairman Barney Frank, and he joins us now in a first on CNBC interview. And Mr. Chairman, we appreciate you taking the time right before your hearing. We'll try to keep it brief so you can get to do the job that you're there to do. How much of a role should the government play in setting anyone's compensation?
Well, there's a distinction to be made. Where you are talking about companies that have taken substantial federal money under, for instance, the TARP program, then I think we have an obligation, not just a right, to see that the money that we've advanced is well spent for the purposes advanced and not excessive. So there's a fairly specific set of restrictions that go on people who take TARP money. When they pay it back, they're free of those restrictions. But beyond that, there is a need for us to do two things. First of all, to empower shareholders. What we hope to pass is what the House passed in 2007. It's called Say on Pay. It's a system followed in England and many other countries. What we find is that boards of directors and CEOs have simply not got the kind of relationship that allows we think, an adequate setting without shareholder participation. So we're not talking about the government saying how much people should get paid. We do think there should be a shareholder involvement. Secondly, the government role is this. It's not the amount that's paid, it's the structure of the compensation. In too many cases, what we found was that there were incentives for the top decision makers to take risks. Because if they took a serious risk and it paid off for the company, they made money. But if they took a serious risk and it backfired on the company, they didn't suffer any losses. And I believe that cumulatively what we saw were these incentives leading to too much risk-taking in the economy. And all we are going to say is not how much they pay, or whether it's bonuses or golden parachutes or whatever, but whatever they do, it should not be structured to give that perverse incentive. If there is an incentive to take risks, that could be appropriate. There should be a genuine incentive that says, if you do something very risky and it pays off, you benefit. But if you do something very risky and it doesn't pay off, you may lose something, because otherwise the structure of compensation over-incentivizes risk-taking.
Mr. Chairman, when you talk about shareholders having more rights under this new framework that you're setting out, is it not already their right to buy or sell a stock based on whether or not they think management is making the right decisions with things like pay?
Yes, it is. And the right to sell a stock that has deteriorated substantially because of bad management decisions is not one of the rights for which people fought at Bunker Hill. The notion that all you should have as a shareholder is the right to buy or sell is a very distorted and cramped view of what the shareholders are supposed to have. Yes, you should be able, as a shareholder, you own the company. And I am surprised that so many people in the business world who think the notion of the people who own the company having a say in running the company at that level is a mistake. And simply being able to sell shares, if you have a management that has taken too many risks and has caused problems, and you want to change that, I don't think your only option should be to sell the shares that management may have devalued.
But Representative Frank, this is David Faber. In this case, talking beyond those that are still recipients of TARP funds, so many other financial services companies took those risks you're talking about. Ultimately, wasn't it the responsibility of the boards of directors of these companies to try to rein in that risk?
It was, and they didn't.
Didn't they fail? And yes. At the end of the day, are you really going to be able to change the way boards operate simply by what you're trying to do here?
Yes, if you put the shareholders in. You just asked me two contradictory questions. I agree with the second question. It is that, yes, you need to put shareholders in there because I think the boards have failed to carry out their responsibilities. Boards can do something, but boards and CEOs are joined at the hip. The CEO picks the board. They work very closely together. You're not going to have one day a year when in the midst of this intimate cooperative relationship, they become labor and management holding each other at arm's length. That's why we think the shareholders should be involved. So, yes, I do, and that's where I differ with Secretary Geithner, who thinks, well, let's just strengthen the independence of the Compensation Committee. There's a wide consensus among regulators, among analysts, that compensation practices have contributed to excessive risk. The question is, how do you deal with it? Shareholder participation deals with a very good point you made about the problems of board of directors. I think you can go beyond that and mandate not that there be any dollar level, not that there be any particular split between bonuses or salary or retirement packages, but that whatever incentives are given have to take time horizons into account and have to be two-way streets.
Mr. Chairman, though, I hate to burn down the house here, but it seems to me that you're dealing with a model that no longer works. because we don't have mom and pop sitting at home holding these shares. These shares are primarily in mutual funds, and the ownership is a derivative instrument. And I just don't see how you get the.
Well, I don't understand how you think that burns down the house, and I don't understand why you think doing nothing.
You're talking about.
May I respond, sir?
You're talking about shareholder participation.
May I respond?
My point is the shareholder is at arm's length to begin with.
No, I disagree with that. I think that in the first place, solutions don't have to be perfect to be better than the status quo. And so what you have collectively suggested, let's do nothing at all. Let's acknowledge that there
I have not
I'm sorry,
suggested
please
that.
stop interrupting me.
All
right, excuse me. You want to lose me?
I am not going to let you misrepresent what I said.
I am not. I am trying to respond to your misrepresentation. I am trying
I am not misrepresenting.
All right, I apologize, but this interview is over. I get 3 different questions, different angles. I try to respond. You want to interrupt because you don't like what I'm saying, then you can find someone else to interview.
Fine. Goodbye, sir.